So, you want to buy a Bentley. Most people think this is a slightly cheaper Rolls-Royce. It isn't. It's a car caught in the most dangerous position in all of luxury, squeezed between a brand above it that prints money and a parent below it that's cutting costs. And the vehicle you're about to buy is the physical proof of a company fighting for its life. Subscribe now, because by the end of this, you'll understand why Bentley sells nearly twice as many cars as Rolls-Royce and makes only a fraction of the money doing it, and why that single gap quietly decides almost everything about what your car will actually be worth the day you decide to sell it. Let's start with the price, because with a Bentley, the price is where the trouble quietly begins. The Bentley, the V8 SUV that is the brand's bestseller and the car that brings most first-time buyers in, starts around $207,000. The Continental GT, the Grand Touring coupe that made Bentley cool again, opens near $245,000, and a realistically optioned one lands between $280,000 and $310,000. The Flying Spur, the limousine, sits in the same territory. These are enormous numbers. They are also, by the standards of this world, the affordable end of ultra-luxury. And that word, affordable, is both Bentley's greatest strength and the root of its biggest problem. Here is the strength. Bentley figured out how to do something Rolls-Royce never has: volume. In 2025, Bentley delivered 10,131 cars. Rolls-Royce delivered 5,664. Bentley sells nearly twice as many vehicles, and the Bentley alone sells about as many units in a year as the entire Rolls-Royce range combined. Bentley took the handcrafted British luxury idea and, using the engineering muscle of its parent, Volkswagen, scaled it into something approaching a real car business, one that has now been profitable for 7 straight years. That is a genuine achievement, and for 2 decades it was the envy of the industry. But scale is a double-edged sword in luxury. The whole magic of a Rolls-Royce is that almost nobody has one. The more Bentleys there are on the road, the less special each one feels, and the harder they are to sell used, because there's always another one just like yours. A few listings down, Bentley chose to be the luxury brand you can actually find, and the market quietly punishes it for exactly that accessibility. Rolls-Royce guards its rarity like a vault. Bentley spent 20 years giving it away in exchange for volume, and volume, it turns out, is the enemy of resale value. But look closer, because here's the problem hiding inside that success. In 2025, Bentley's operating profit was 216 million euros on revenue of 2.6 billion. That's an 8.3% margin. Hold that number next to what we've seen. Rolls-Royce and Ferrari run margins 2, 3, even 4 times higher on far fewer cars. Bentley works much harder, builds many more vehicles, and keeps far less of the money. And it gets worse. The 216 million was a 42% collapse from the year before. Profit fell by nearly half in a single year, hammered by US tariffs, a sharp slowdown in China, and the write-offs from electric car projects that kept getting delayed. This is not a company printing money. This is a company scrambling to protect it, and the pressure is structural, not temporary. Bentley builds almost everything at a single historic factory on Pims Lane in Crewe, England, with a workforce of around 4,000 people, which it is now trimming by 6%, cutting office roles to defend the margin. Its parent, Volkswagen, is eliminating tens of thousands of jobs across the group by 2030, and has already floated 2026 margins that could dip even lower. When your owner is in cost-cutting mode and your 2 biggest markets, America and China, are both working against you at once, you do not get to coast on heritage. You cut, you reprice, and you pray the rich keep buying. Because Bentley's response to that squeeze is the single most important thing for you to understand as a buyer, and it's lifted straight from the Rolls-Royce playbook. The strategy has a name the CEO says out loud: value over volume. If you can't sell more cars, sell each car for more. And the tool for that is Mulliner, Bentley's bespoke division. The same blank canvas trick we saw at Goodwood. Custom paint, hand-stitched interiors, one-off commissions. In 2024, a remarkable 70% of Bentley buyers chose to pay extra to personalize their cars. And the revenue Bentley earns per car has climbed around 10% in just 2 years. When deliveries fell in 2025, Mulliner and the high-performance speed models are what kept the revenue from falling with them. Bentley is trying, deliberately, to become more like Rolls-Royce, because that is where the profit lives. The logic is inescapable. If you sell 1 car and add $100,000 of personalization at fat margins, you make more than selling 2 cars stripped bare, and you do it without building an extra factory or hiring an extra worker. Every luxury maker in this series has arrived at the same conclusion from a different direction. The car is a platform, and the real business is everything you bolt, stitch, and paint onto it afterward. Bentley just arrived at that conclusion late and under duress, while its margin was actively falling. Now here's where the story turns hard against you, the owner, and where a Bentley behaves nothing like a Rolls. A Rolls-Royce holds its value reasonably well, and the rare ones appreciate. A Bentley does the opposite. It depreciates like a stone. A Continental GT loses around 40% of its value in 5 years. A Flying Spur, about 42 to 43%. And the Bentayga, the bestseller, the car most people buy, is the worst of all, shedding up to 57% of its value in 5 years. Let that land. A $210,000 Bentayga can lose more than $118,000, and a loaded one close to $190,000 in half a decade. That works out to as much as $700 a week, every week, evaporating while it sits in your garage doing nothing but looking magnificent. To put that in perspective, the depreciation alone on a new Bentayga can cost you more per week than most people's rent, and unlike rent, you get nothing back for it. This is the single most important number the salesman will never say out loud, because it is the number that turns a dream car into a financial anchor the moment you sign. And the depreciation is only half the bleeding, because a Bentley is also, according to the cost analysts at CarEdge, the single most expensive luxury brand in the world to maintain. Not the second most, the most. Routine servicing runs $2,000 to $2,500 a year and climbs as the car ages. A major service can hit $3,500 to $5,000. An oil change alone at a dealer can cost $1,000. Insurance on a Continental GT averages over $7,600 a year. Fuel is a rounding error against all of it, but it still drinks premium at the rate of a small industrial facility. Added up, and the 5-year cost of owning a Continental GT lands around $254,000. Most of it depreciation, the rest a steady, relentless drip of running costs. If breakdowns like this are why you're here, subscribe now, because here's where the bargain hides. So here's the brutal, honest picture. You're buying a magnificent, handcrafted car from a company under real financial pressure, in a vehicle that will lose roughly half its value in 5 years, while costing more to maintain than anything else at its price. Every rational signal says walk away, and this is exactly why, for the patient buyer, Bentley hides one of the best deals in the entire luxury car world. Because the same savage depreciation that destroys the first owner is a gift to the second. That is the angle that always waits at the bottom of these stories, and with Bentley it is enormous. A 2-year-old Continental GT that's stickered near $310,000 can be found for $165,000 to $220,000. A used Flying Spur saves you close to $70,000 over new. And at the very bottom, a 10 or 15-year-old Continental GT, a genuinely stunning W12 Grand Tourer, can be bought for the price of a used family SUV, sometimes $25,000 to $50,000. You can own a Bentley, an actual hand-built Bentley with a 12-cylinder engine and a badge that stops conversations, for genuinely less than the price of a new mid-range Toyota. The first owner paid for the privilege of being first. The second owner just gets the Bentley. But here's the trap inside that bargain, and it's the one that catches optimists every time. A cheap Bentley is only cheap to buy. The maintenance costs do not depreciate with the car. That 15-year-old Continental GT costs exactly as much to service as it did when new, and it is far more likely to need a major 5-figure repair precisely because it's old. The purchase price is the down payment, the upkeep is the mortgage, and on the cheapest Bentleys, the mortgage can quietly cost more than the house. The used bargain is real, but it rewards the wealthy owner who can absorb a surprise repair, not the buyer stretching to afford the badge. And now the risk that hangs over every Bentley bought today, because it's bigger than depreciation. Bentley is a brand mid-transformation, and nobody, including Bentley, seems entirely sure what it's transforming into. It promised to go fully electric, then quietly pushed that timeline back as ultra-luxury buyers made it clear they don't want silent EVs, the same resistance that made sister brand Lamborghini cancel its electric Lanzador. The result is a lineup straddling combustion, hybrid, and an electric future that keeps slipping, which makes the resale value of anything you buy now genuinely hard to predict. The last great W12S might become treasured, or they might become orphans nobody wants to service. A company unsure of its own direction is a company whose back catalog can swing hard either way, and you, the buyer, are holding that uncertainty in your driveway. Underneath all of it sits the same quiet machinery every luxury car maker runs, though Bentley runs it with thinner margins than most. It captures the money on the car itself, whatever the market and the tariffs allow. It captures the Mulliner personalization money, where the options carry a far richer margin than the base car, and now account for a growing share of the profit. It captures the eye-watering service revenue on machines that demand a lot of it, and it leans, always, on Volkswagen, whose platforms, engines, and cash make a 10,000 car luxury brand possible in the first place, and whose cost-cutting now hangs over crew like weather. Time to answer the actual question. How much does this cost you, and what do you get back? Let's run the math on 3 realistic versions of your Bentley. Option 1. The new car trap. You buy a new Bentayga for around $240,000. Loaded. 5 years later it's worth perhaps $110,000. You've lost $130,000 to depreciation alone, plus roughly $15,000 a year in running costs. So call it a total of over $200,000 to own an SUV for 5 years. This is the most expensive way to do it, and it's the way most buyers choose, because the showroom sells the badge, the smell of the leather, and the sound of the door, and never once mentions the residual value waiting to ambush you in year 3. Option 2, the value play. You let someone else eat that first crater and buy their 2-year-old Continental GT for around $190,000. You get one of the great Grand Tours ever built, still modern, still covered by some warranty, for $100,000 less than the first owner paid. You'll still spend $20,000 to $25,000 a year running it, but the steep part of the depreciation already happened to someone richer than you. You didn't beat the loss. You just had the discipline to let it land on someone else first, which in a brand that depreciates this hard is the closest thing to financial genius the numbers will allow. And it's exactly what the people who actually understand these cars quietly do. Option 3, the connoisseur's exception. You commission a heavily bespoke Mulliner car, or you chase one of the genuinely limited runs, a Bacalar or a Batour. Coach-built cars produced in a few dozen units at prices running into the millions. These behave nothing like the mainstream range. Like the coach-built Rolls-Royces, they hold value and can appreciate because there are so few and the waiting list never got everyone in. Bentley hands you the door to that room too, but it decides who's allowed through, just like Goodwood does. But almost no one is invited. The entry price runs into the millions, and the ordinary cars beneath it keep on falling regardless. Choose right, a Bacalar in the right specification, and you own the one Bentley that pays you back. Choose an ordinary Continental new, and you own the most beautiful way in the world to lose $100,000. So here's the verdict. Rolls-Royce sells scarcity and keeps the fattest margin in the business. Bentley sells volume, works twice as hard, keeps a fraction of the money, and passes the depreciation straight through to you. It is a spectacular car and brand new, a genuinely poor financial decision, sold by a company squeezed so tightly it just cut its own staff, and yet bought used and owned by someone who can afford the upkeep. It might be the most car, the most craftsmanship, the most sheer presence that money can buy for the price. Most luxury cars make you ask what they cost you. The Bentley just quietly answers before you've even asked, and the answer every single time is the depreciation. Subscribe, and we'll do this again next week with the next machine that's absolutely magnificent to own and completely, quietly merciless the day you finally try to sell it.